This is the Kawasaki Ninja ZX12R. What is this thing then? A bike that everyone has forgotten, it seems. The 12R came out in the year 2000 and actually replaced the Hayabusa as the world's fastest production motorcycle, a title which it held until 2006 when the ZX14 replaced it. This 1200cc inline-4 tactical missile made approximately 190 horsepower at higher speeds due to its ram air intake system. It also has the torque output of a small car at 137 Nm, and it makes that much around 7,500 RPM, so it's usable at legal speeds too. This power, along with its great aerodynamics, translates to a top speed of about 194 miles per hour stock in the year 2000. Of course, this was limited to the agreed upon 186 miles per hour, which is 300 kph, because our governments are full of crybabies. What else? We've got inverted telescopic forks and fuel injection. Also, really cool, the world's first monocoque aluminium frame for a production motorcycle. And it's at this point that I'd like to remind everyone that Kawasaki has a long history of making aircraft. A long history. And this does in fact translate over to their motorcycles. The aerospace division even helped design the front air intake on the revised 2002 model, lowering the drag coefficient. Cool. So the big thing is, why wasn't this as famous as the Hayabusa? That's the big question, right? Well, I think it's for two reasons. Reason number one is the looks. Yes, the ZX12R looks fantastic, but so does the Hayabusa. The important thing is, the Hayabusa is very distinct and doesn't look like anything else. Reason two, and this has to be the biggest reason, the Hayabusa has a name, a real name. ZX12R? That's more like a code name that only makes sense to us bikers. And a good name can go a long way. Right, we've touched on the design slightly, with mention of how Kawasaki's aerospace legacy can be seen in the design of this bike. Look, they even put wings on it. But what else is interesting about it? Well, looking at it and knowing this came out in the year 2000, this could easily have came out yesterday in 2024. This truly was from the age of innovation, wasn't it? Nothing seems outdated on it. Looking down here at the front of the bike, it's easy to get into a bunch of things like the headlights, like fiddling around with the brake lines, which I've done recently. And we have some gaps in the panels here, so we can quickly see and adjust the throttle cable, or the clutch cable here without taking fairings off as well. And this, the fuel tank, is actually just a cover. Yep, the fuel tank actually comes down here, which I assume is to lower the center of gravity, which is very smart. And I wonder why other bikes don't have this fuel tank design as well. Maybe it's the idea of having exploded juice right beneath your man sausage. Just Kawasaki rider things, I guess. This isn't often mentioned in reviews, but the mirrors here look fantastic, don't they? Look at them, like they came off Batman's car. They're also really practical as well. Oh, and finally, the headlights are great too. I like that they're symmetrical and they both come on at the same time. And practically, at nighttime, they are better than my cars. I mean, look at the size of them. Awesome. So we know it goes like a bat out of hell and looks the business. What's it like to sit on? Well, it's not quite as upright as an adventure bike or your typical naked, and is nowhere near as extreme as a proper sport bike. Just to compare this to my old ZX10R, the handlebars would have been here, and the foot pegs would have been up here. This is quite a large bike, and there is quite a lot of room on it. I would say it feels like a sports tourer when sitting on it. I'm in the correct position to tuck in under this pretty decent windscreen when hooning it, but also in a comfy position to take it slow without straining my wrists as well. The only bad thing about this bike is the seat, really. After a bunch of hours, my ass starts to get numb. Comparing it to the Gen 1 Hayabusa seat leaves a lot to be desired. I'm definitely going to be looking for an aftermarket seat or some other mitigation. There's a great surprise when you come to the twisty parts of your ride when on the ZX12R. As previously mentioned, this has a monocoque aluminium frame, and you can really feel the benefits when slinging the bike around corners. It really does handle like a proper sport bike, despite having this massive engine. The wet weight of the bike is almost 250 kg, but it honestly doesn't feel that heavy at all. It feels like it weighs about 210 kilograms to me. Modern tires help a lot as well. This hidden weight does actually help the bike in certain aspects as well, such as making it feel quite planted on the road in corners, or reducing the likelihood of the front wiggling. So, is the bike practical? No. Nah, not really. Well, it depends. It's easy and enjoyable to ride, with a manageable power curve. You can also carry a passenger without worry as well. If that's what you're after, it's awesome. But that's about it as far as practicality goes. She is quite a thirsty beast. We're getting under 40 miles per imperial gallons here, about 7 liters per 100 kilometers. The fuel capacity is about 20 liters, so that's a bit under 300 kilometers for a full tank, about 180 miles until empty. We're also lacking support for stuff like a top box or panniers. Best we could do is a rear seat bag, I think. But hey, is it worth it? Hell yeah. For a bike that's selling for about £3,000, depending on condition, it's a bit of a steal, really. So are there any bad things, any things to look out for? Yeah, there's a couple of things. Number one, the 6-pop calipers on the front of the early models are prone to getting gummy, which basically means you should be ready to clean them, especially if you ride in the wet. Not a big deal really. Brake cleaner and a toothbrush is all you need. Number two, for some reason, the early models have an issue with melting the plug connecting the stator to the regulator. Kawasaki issued a recall, so make sure yours was fixed. I believe they fixed it by hard wiring the wires. So, they get rid of the plug and they hardwire it. And number three, finally, the earlier models of 2000 and 2001 can have issues with clutch baskets. So if you're the type to do racing, clutch up wheelies, etc., definitely get an aftermarket clutch basket. Conclusion. This bike is an old school muscle bike, which was at the forefront of leading design in the early 2000s speed wars. It lacks modern safety features and creature comforts such as ABS, traction control, riding modes, etc. And combined with its top class performance specs, This is definitely a bike for an advanced rider only. Sorry newbies, probably not a good bike to get as your first big bike. But, you know, for those advanced riders, this is truly a proper biker's bike, suitable for all kinds of roads and riding styles. Being able to be purchased for a low price at the moment, I can definitely see this becoming a classic relatively soon. I believe this might be the bike that finally stops me looking at other bikes. And that is saying a lot. So guys, if you've enjoyed this review, click the video on your screen right here. But before you do so, make sure you leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and if you have any other questions about the bike that I didn't cover in the video, please go ahead and ask me in the comments. I'll read every single one. Until next time, StormTech out.